Hello and welcome to the Green Island Podcast. I'm Bernard Sheehan, joined by my brother and partner here, James Sheehan. We are the co-authors of Hard Border. This is the first in the Green Island novel series. We have more coming down the pike here, but would appreciate you folks taking a look, checking us out, and also please look for us in addition to here, but also on Twitter or X as it's called now under Green Island Pods. We're discussing kind of all things Irish to a certain extent, but also expanding out beyond that. Our view is that Ireland is something of the petri dish or the laboratory for a lot of the things that are going on essentially in Western society right now. So we want to take it from that perspective, bring things to you folks early, and also comment on them and talk about them certainly through the novels. So Jay, thanks for joining.
Great, Bern. Thanks for having me. Sorry about that. My microphone was just playing up on me a bit.
No.
So yeah, great. It's wonderful. Great to be here. We've kind of taken a little break, but we're back at it and started the second book, which was great. So outlining it as we speak and should be able to punch it out within the year and have the second part, volume 2, on its way. So it looks like probably almost better than the first one, but a lot of it just continuing on the story that is communist Ireland and American is trying to make it in Europe, which is a complete joke. And now bringing that fight over to America and how the similarities are quite common between these days,
Exactly.
Especially as you can see with the Trump trial. I mean, Ireland's no different than Illinois, New York. California might be a bit different, but let's just say New York. I mean, that's Ireland in a nutshell. Let's just rip down the entire system for one guy, for one little thing, and make a mockery of everybody and ourselves included. And no problem. And Ireland has proven that to the world that can be done.
Yeah, and then pretend that it's not precedent setting. That's the thing too that they were arguing with regards to Trump was, oh yeah, this whole thing, of him having to put up all that money for the bond, that's not a precedent that is going to apply to any of you other billionaires who live in New York. If you get on the wrong side of us, we're not going to come after basically everything you own. So it's crazy. And I think I think we've talked about it, but if you're somebody who's got assets in the state of New York, get the F out, go down to Florida, go to Texas, go someplace else, because New York is coming for you, or they definitely do not play by the rules.
Well, it's not only New York. It's New York. It's Illinois. We know for a fact Illinois, they're coming after our family for stuff that we did in Ireland. It's just they're crazy. That's what they do. Ireland's trying to bring a case against us in Illinois because their statute of limitations have lapsed, and it's just crazy. It's Illinois. It's any blue state. And they're all the same, and there's no justice, there's no judgment they'll give a judgment and good luck in the appeals court, but let's put you under financial stress, and that's what they did with Trump. Let's see how much cash you have on hand and let's gobble all that up, and then good luck on the appeal, but we have your cash in the meantime. And that's the game they play. It's lawfare.
Well,
and they're really bringing it now. Like they're bringing it, and they're so used to it. It's like the devil inside them are so coordinated because no one cares. It's pretty crazy.
Well, I think that's one of the things they learned from the FBI is that the process is the punishment. We're going after you. You're going to be tied up in court. It's nothing to them. It's not their money. They've got no problems with it. And look at how, again, back to Trump, they're doing it to him all over the place, and Republicans aren't really retaliating against any Democrats. So it's really a one-sided game. But one of the things that, as we record this, Trump's case in New York is moving ahead, and they're picking the jury. And it was interesting from our perspective to see that one of, at least as we're recording this right now, they've got 6 jurors picked, and the foreman is an Irish guy. He is, I presume, an American now, but he was born in Ireland. He's going to be the foreman on this trial against Trump. So it's interesting to see that perspective as well. I mean, certainly it's New York, so you're picking a bunch of New Yorkers, to be on that jury. But at the same time, it's not just, it's also essentially an immigrant who's going to be the foreman there for them.
Yeah, and I was just listening because when I did see, I think you sent me that text this morning, so I put on kind of a podcast I listened to. It's called Clay and Buck Show or Clay Travis, but they're conservative, but
Sure.
it's a good mix, and they're two guys, and one does sports and is a lawyer and blah blah blah, and one's like an ex-CIA and an
Yeah.
analyst or whatever. But it's a pretty good show for what it's worth. But man, when it came up about going through the jury, especially the Irish guy, I mean, they're just like, I don't have a good feeling about this. I mean, Ireland's virtually Cuba of Europe. You don't get much more communist than Ireland. And I was pretty shocked to hear that from guys who don't really know the story. And then they were getting calls in from, other Irish guys mainly. It's just like, you got to understand Ireland. I mean, their RTE, which is like their, NPR of America, or their public, it's as far left of New York Times, which
Yep.
is as communist as you get. And these guys were just railing into Ireland. And it's just like, well, at least the message is out there now. And we're contributing to that because it is as communist as it gets. And they're just going to close you out and do exactly what New York's doing right now to Trump. It's just there's a little late because we have Constitution and Bill of Rights where Europe and Ireland don't have this, and it's so small, Ireland was able to get away with it because they can just close you out pretty quick. Where federal court in America kind of goes across the whole country, but Trump's unfortunately in New York, which is equivalent to Ireland. We're just going to roll over you, and then we'll see what happens after that. But at least Trump gets a jury because in Ireland there's no juries, for anything like that. So I think maybe severe criminal activity for like murder or whatever, and you might get a jury in Ireland, but everything else is done through a judge, and the judges are, not even elected or anything. They're just, of course, appointed by the government and giving promotions to the judges that do as they say. And it's all in the hard border, but I mean, it's a real eye opener, and you'll just see what happens in these various circuits in New York and in Illinois. I mean, I see it's no different. I mean, they're all, you got to be very careful what jurisdiction you're in now, because they can come and take all your assets, and you will have not a fighting chance. And you're dropping what, $500K for a lawyer to fight the case, maybe bring it to the appeals court to win. A lot of people don't have $500K, especially right now. And this is kind of all planned. And you can't take $500K out of your mortgage these days because the interest rates are so high. So it's just like, you better get on to learn how to do it yourself, and, and don't be scared to just fight for yourself. But they will do it. The best thing is just get out of these cities and let them burn. Because they're burning themselves to the ground anyways, and you just don't be caught up in it, because they're coming after everybody. It doesn't matter. So if you're not loyal to their side, they're coming after you. And that's the Irish way. That's the communist way. Like, we're not going to just, if you don't play ball, if you reject us, let's just say, we bring you in a scenario and, we're committing fraud, and you don't like that, and you found out we're committing fraud. I'm not going to turn you in. I'm just going to back off. Well, you're screwed then. Like, there's no way, like, there's no getting out, is what I'm saying. And the communist way, and that's why once you're in, there's no out, and we're going to dirty you up whether you like it or not, or we're going to completely bankrupt you and ruin you and wreck your reputation and bring all types of stuff, and use our network of judges and prosecutors and politicians to make sure that happens. And that's what they're doing to us. That's what they're doing to everybody. And that's why, Trump is just the face of it, but it's already coming. It's coming to anybody who fights. And that's why it's New York. You can have your billionaires, but the billionaires better play ball with them, because they'll come and take their money pretty quick, And that's why, we'll see what happens.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons too that they have started to look and are getting rid of some assets, because a lot of the assets in New York, and this isn't really widely known, but if you have an apartment, it's a pretty wealthy apartment. Foreigners are buying those, particularly Chinese. They're buying it to get their money out of China, and have been for 20 years now. So it's if their stuff is up for grabs. But I think that would be the same as we saw in Ireland a couple of weeks ago, that there was a China connection there, and then of course the judge ruled their way. So it's going to be a little bit different in that case. They're going to side with China because they're essentially a fellow traveler. They're communists as well. So, but
Well, did the judge rule their way, or did they just settle? I thought it was a settlement. I don't think the judge ruled. I think probably the judge and I would say the Chinese people didn't get their full value at all. I mean, Ireland's they're going to say, okay, well, I'll give you, 30 cents on the dollar rather than the five we were originally offering, just because you are Chinese and we need money to come into this communist hellhole now, because all the smart people, we've either taken all their money or they're just not investing with us. So I would be shocked if Ireland gave them all the money, but maybe he did. Maybe they did, just
I'd,
to kind of entice more Chinese in.
I'd have to look again, but it was very much like this person. It seemed to be that they made out that they were made whole. Now I could be wrong. I don't remember the details, but it did seem like that they were rolling over for China, because that's the thing. There's no such thing really as a Chinese business person. It's somebody who's a part of the government. That's why they've got that business to begin with.
100%. I
So
mean, even every Chinese person's still considered an asset of China,
yep,
and you're more or less a spy,
right.
and so that would make sense because Ireland is probably looking for any capital they can get now. I mean, they've got so much money now, even though they have a lot of debt, that they're even considering setting up a sovereign fund from all the money they stole from everybody else. It's just ridiculous, But it's kind of funny because all the politicians are fleeing, like Simon Cove, all the major, like the PM was just the first thing to fall, but Simon Coveney, who's I assume was pretty much the PM in waiting, has decided to jump ship and stuff like that. Now he's a big Bilderberger guy and stuff like that, so he's probably going to get his CEO job of some major company pretty quick, but to make his millions. But they're all kind of jumping ship in Ireland to see what happens. So the crap might be hitting the fan a bit, and it's happening everywhere. I
Yep.
mean, everybody's kind of getting tired of this. It's just fatigue now, where we don't want to hear about your woke crap, and we see what you're doing, and we're just going to jump ship and let New York and Illinois and all these people just go burn in bankruptcy. And it's just like, well, they'll go to the federal government. It's just like, well, based on how we see Congress acting, they'll probably give them the money. It's just ridiculous. Everything's just up in arms.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens with Trump here. So we'll definitely be watching that. And now there's an Irish angle there as well. But you never know what this person's like. Maybe they're not as lefty as your average Irish person is.
I would say he lives in Harlem. I think is he a school teacher or something? Like, I know he says I think one of the things is he reads like Fox. He said he read the New York Times, Fox News, Washington Post, and like the Washington Post. I'm sorry, you just don't do that. You read one or the other. You don't read both. I mean, unless you're in that business or something like that. So I think he purposely tried to get on the jury,
Could
from
be.
my kind of limited understanding of kind of his bio. But living in Harlem, I don't think who knows? We'll see. But, we'll watch him. We'll see
Yep.
how it goes.
Yep. So moving on, we also want to talk again, kind of Connor watch. We've been on that beat, if you like, for a while, and it looks like he finally got his fight. You were saying it's happening at the end of June.
Yeah, end of June, UFC 303, so a little bit later, but he's got his match with I think Michael Chandler or something Chandler, which all these names are foreign to me. I mean, Conor McGregor is kind of the UFC guy,
Right.
that kind of put it on the map. And the rest of them, I don't really, I mean, they come and go. There's a few that you see, like O'Malley, who's kind of a flamboyant, skinny guy, and a few others that kind of I would recognize, but besides that, it's Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor, the only two in UFC, and one's fictitious.
Right.
So it will be good though, because I think he needs to get his fight, because I don't think he can wait too much longer. He needs his fight, and I think probably it'll be his last one. Again, not a professional or whatever, but in this kind of fight game, you can't stay on top unless it's boxing, where there's a lot of rules that you can manipulate, like Tyson Fury or these guys, the big heavyweights. But in UFC, if you're not on top of your game, you're going to get rolled over pretty quick, in
Well,
my
I,
opinion.
well, I saw a snippet of an interview with the top dog there at the UFC, and he was saying, obviously Connor is so rich now. He lives out on his yacht, and he's going wherever is the warmest place to be. So he's really living it up, and good for him. He's a multimillionaire. But that type of person is not going to be the same person who wants to get punched in the face every single day to train. And that's going to be the difference. So like these people, when they get so big, they're really not going to stay at it. And it has been a while for him. So good on him to come back in. But at the same time, how's that training going? Is it going to be effective? but maybe it's like a last springboard onto something else. Because last time, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was the last one where he got his leg broken, and I'm sure obviously that's healed up by now, but at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily want to be getting back in the ring after such a long layoff.
100%, especially with the broken leg, and I don't know how that works. I mean, I'm always wondering when I used to follow fantasy football, and everybody, all your guys go down in injuries and torn ACLs, and they're back up again. And it's just like, wow, like, but a broken foot. So we will see. But you're absolutely right. I mean, he's been living the high life, doing all his commercials, making companies, blah blah blah. Why would you get into that situation? But I think he has probably this is a springboard to something else, i.e., the president of Ireland, perhaps. And hey, I welcome that. But this will be a big event, and I would say he'll retire after this, whether he wins or loses, and goes on to something else. But such as acting or something like that. And I'll
Right.
comment on that in the next segment because he might have an opportunity there. And hey, if Arnold Schwarzenegger can do it, anybody can do it to a degree with an accent. So
That's right.
yeah, we'll touch on that. But yeah, so the fight is fixed, and I think we'll all be watching to a degree.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is I'm not saying by any means that he's out of shape, but I think there's a difference between being regular, like in shape, versus being ready for a fight. So he's got time to do it. I'm just saying that I'm sure it's going to be a huge event and going to be a big money maker, and we'll be watching that for sure. So hopefully that'll be a springboard into the next step in his life. Hopefully, as you mentioned, going for president of Ireland or doing something along those lines.
Well, I wonder if the weight's an issue too, because as you do see in Roadhouse, which we'll talk next, I mean, he put on a lot of weight, even though he's fit as hell. I mean, for UFC, like if you first saw him UFC, I mean, he was thin and slim, and you're taking on lighter competitors, and maybe that's all by design to get big. Maybe there's easier fighters that are in a different weight class. Again, being naive really to the sport, but I mean, he was jacked in Roadhouse, but whether that converts or maybe he has to slim down. And again, if you have a lot of money, may not be as disciplined as you were
Yeah, let's
when you're
jump.
kind of hungry and need money.
Exactly. Let's jump into that. Let's talk about Roadhouse. That's really what we wanted to talk about tonight. It's been out on Amazon for a couple of weeks now, and we jumped on that. And like you said, it's a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal as an ex UFC guy who's protecting a bar down in Florida, and Connor comes along, or his character is something of a wild man being paid by developers who want to take over the property. Again, something that we're used to. Not developers are the worst scum on the planet, so it's not a surprise that would be the
Especially corrupt ones.
yes, exactly. So it had a lot of good fight scenes, and you start off with again kind of the Jake Gyllenhaal character getting in there and going down to this bar. One of the things I really liked about it was like, man, it made Florida look so good. I really wanted to go on vacation right then and there.
It really did. It made Florida, and it was really real Florida. I mean, like that's Florida for you. It's not like any place on earth. It was kind of that sandy look, the Keys. I thought it was did a great job. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was, it had some of its issues, but in the overall sense, I'm giving it a B plus just for entertainment because I enjoyed it. I even had it on the background. I watched it again just in the background, like while I'm doing something, just to, because everything else is crap on TV, and you're kind of addicted to have the TV on sometimes for something. And it's just like, well, there's nothing else on. I'll just pop it on again. And I watched it through, but then I think that's it. I can't watch it again, at least for another year or two. But I really did. I thought he did a good. I thought it was good. I thought it put together nicely. I mean, there were some elements you could always criticize, such as the woke parts of it, and we won't really need to get into that because we're focusing on Conor McGregor, who honestly I thought he did a good job. I mean, his acting was quite brush. Like
Yeah.
it was kind of funny. It was kind of comical. It was very Irish, but I thought he did a good job. He commanded it, and for a guy who's not an actor, he did have his presence. And hey, you can't do much worse than Arnold Schwarzenegger, so he could have a very good career because he was jacked. He knows how to fight. There's very limited people in Hollywood that have that type of talent, and you can always play the I think he'd be a badass leprechaun or something like that to kind of for a movie of a bad leprechaun or something that's going around and killing people. But we'll see. You know, he definitely has options after that because I think Roadhouse was a success, and I think they're already green lighted a second movie of it.
Yeah, well, like you say, it was kind of like him being himself, almost like a super exaggerated version of himself, like really bombastic, coming in, tearing up a bar, and being kind of the enforcer for the big bad of the movie.
Hey, fellas. Looks like you're having a smashing night. Dalton! I got a tip for you. Don't let no one get this close. Come on, bro.
And he played it well because, again, like you said, he knows how to fight. He was jacked. I mean, he looked huge. Not in fighting shape, but like legit, like he had been working out. So I thought he was very big, and at least what I could see. So maybe that was to match, Jake Gyllenhaal a little bit more because he was pretty beefed up as well, and came in and did a good job. Yes, he was chewing the scenery there, but that's also, it seemed like that was the character he was playing too, like a big kind of bombastic, really loud, basically drunk Irish guy who's going to come in and tear shit apart.
Yeah, and he was, I mean, you can see by the movie, he was a better fighter than Jake Gyllenhaal. If you kind of just take that scenario, like he should have won the fight. It was just, across the board, he was a better fighter. And Jake Gyllenhaal was pretty much considered the best, I guess, in that scenario. But I thought it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. And I think he did a pretty good job. And, Amazon was smart to keep it on for Prime. I know the director was really upset that like they didn't allow it for the cinema. And he's just like, oh, well, Jake would have been great for the award season. I'm like, come on. I mean, it wasn't award territory sort of thing. It was an entertainment. It's like Top Gun. You're going for the fun, and you're not going to kind of expect awards out of it. That's not the situation. I think Amazon did a smart move because it just draws you to it. It just, you need these big hits. And I think maybe we'll talk about The Gentleman on Netflix, the next segment, which is just, I really like that one too. And has some Irish guys in it. And, but that's what these streaming's got to do now. I mean, they have a lot of people that are buying in the streaming, and I pretty much got Amazon Prime just for this movie. And no, I canceled it now, but they got another month out of me by accident. And that's why I rewatched it again. But it's that's what you do, and you put these movies on. And I would say that's why they, I think Jake Gyllenhaal got a huge deal out of it after this movie. He got like what these people say, like a first look of all his projects and stuff like that. So he's flying high. And, if I do recommend the movie, The Covenant that he was in with Guy Ritchie, where they kind of go back for the interpreter, I think I mentioned it at a previous podcast, I thought was very good. At least there's honor amongst people, at least it's kind of weird because I don't have no faith in Hollywood in any way, shape, or form about being honorable, but they're still making honorable movies. At least The Covenant is an honorable movie where they're going back for the guy who saved them. And, I like those stories. I think honor is a big part in it, going back to old school movies where the good guys win and the bad guys lose, compared to, some TV shows out there where the bad guys are always winning and the good guys are getting taken, but it's some woke nonsense like he's a white supremacist or whatever, and we need to take him down. Like Trump, we need to take him down even though he didn't do anything wrong,
Well, it's interesting that you talk about big movie deals because Conor McGregor, there's a lot of scuttlebutt on what he'll do next, as far as movies. And I heard somebody mention that, and I don't know if you're familiar with this character, but if they do like a reboot of the X-Men, that he could be potentially like a Sabretooth type of character. He could be Sabretooth, and that's Wolverine's kind of main adversary. So that would be kind of cool. I don't know if you remember.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Because you know who they are thinking of playing Wolverine? It's Daniel Radcliffe. Harry Potter?
Yep.
They were showing him of like in Wolverine look, and he looked pretty awesome, even though he's a short little midget. But if you look at Conor McGregor, they're all kind of short. Like Conor McGregor's small too. If you see him, Jake Gyllenhaal's not a tall man, and he's shorter than Jake Gyllenhaal when they're back side to side. But like they need to change it up anyways and get more nitty gritty. So I thought Daniel Radcliffe, like he looked good, but maybe that was just a fan but there's that's the pool so that would be pretty cool because it's the land of the midgets. So they kind of look normal, but they're quite small.
But Wolverine as a character is also small. That was one of the things with Hugh Jackman. It's just like he's way too tall. He's like 6'2", 6'3", and even though he's great, he's still way too tall for that character. If they were to go back to what he should be, is a small, kind of stocky guy. But that would be
Is
cool.
that right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So that's
Okay, because I thought I liked Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. I thought he was probably the best of them all.
Yeah.
He just fit that character like a glove. They had problems with Sabretooth throughout that series, but he really, probably of all the characters except for Iron Man, he was the best fit for those type of superhero movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Superman's up there too with Henry Cavill or whatever, but I mean that's such a hard one to do. It's like Batman. There's so many guys in there,
Well,
but
I know we're going off here and we're going to wrap up, but it's funny that you say that because there's a Henry Cavill talk for Wolverine too. So I'll just leave it at that. But, that's been kind of thrown out there. So that would be interesting because he's kind of obviously a big guy and a hairy beast as well, like Wolverine is, at least the character.
yeah, and he's jacked. He can get jacked up, and he's a good actor. And
Yeah.
I like Henry Cavill. I think I'd follow some of his stuff. He's one of my tops this day because he just does clean, good stuff.
Yep.
You don't have to get into that other stuff. And it's our Jack Reacher might be a good one too to throw in some of these superheroes. Because he's so huge, but he's probably too big.
I don't know.
The Jack Reacher guy.
Yeah,
what's his name?
Alan Richman or something.
Yeah,
think,
Rickman or something. Yeah.
But he could slim down if he wanted to, but or they could just put him as Batman. That'd be perfect for him.
That would be pretty good too. He's just so big. I mean, he's mad. Like he is the Arnold Schwarzenegger of this generation. I mean, and they need him for Reacher now. Reacher's huge. I mean, huge. So it's probably greenlit for another 2 or 3 seasons. So he can't really slim down because, you have to stay jacked for the next season. So they would have to kind of play him as some type of huge person in these movies. But I like him. I like those those shows, those type of shows like Terminal List. Amazon's actually doing a real good job. When I got Amazon maybe a year ago, it was kind of crap, or 2 years ago, but they're putting up some good stuff, like fun stuff, like Terminal List, Reacher, Roadhouse. It's good. It's they're finally getting some good stuff together.
Well, that's the thing too. There's no like special effects, or at least I've heard with Roadhouse that somebody was saying like, oh yeah, you could really see the special effects and probably like around some of the boat stuff that was there. But on the whole, it seemed pretty practical that they were really tearing up that bar and stuff. And that's what I like to see. I'm tired of special effects stuff.
100%. I mean, the only problem with the boat is like when the main guy, and I won't ruin it, but I mean, the boat crashes into the roadhouse at the top and the guy still lived. I mean, that's impossible, where it's just like these sort of things where people should die and they still live. It's just like interesting sort of thing. But it made it interesting, but all's good. And yeah, I'm of the same opinion. Good stuff, good writing, and make it work like Hard Border. Eventually they'll pick us up, and I'd rather go on Amazon than Netflix, even though Netflix, like, again, we will talk about The Gentleman because I'm really liking that show. And I think we should chat about it.
Definitely.
With the pikeys and stuff like that.
All right. Until next time. That sounds great. Thanks so much, Jay.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you everyone out there for listening. Please again, check us out on X and also check out our novel Hard Border. Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.